Hey, Jhana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I am a former COO for a marketing agency and for an agency coaching program. And now I'm the founder of my own company, Spyglass Ops. And we support entrepreneurs in scaling their businesses, scaling themselves out of the day-to-day weeds, and doing all of that through operations.
Very cool. So since you're an operations person, you're probably a complete opposite than me and a lot of people listening to the show. They're always, kind of bottlenecks in growing an agency. Like I remember, and I talk to agency owners all the time, where we get to a certain level, we hit that kind of glass ceiling that we don't know about how to break through. Yep. And I always tell them there's kind of three questions that you need to do in order to really get to the next level. The first one is where do you need to go? Mm-hmm. The second one is, who do you need to become so you don't hold back the agency? But the third one, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, is really, who do you need to hire in order to get to the next level? So when you were the CEO of that agency, what did you see as a huge bottleneck?
Yeah, no, I love those questions. I think that glass ceiling happens when we as founders have maxed out the growth that we can personally create, right? We have maxed out how hard we can work and how innovative and creative we can be and how much we can grow the business kind of single-handedly just by showing up and outworking every problem. And the stage of growth that glass ceiling is only broken through when we become a new version of ourselves, we develop a new skill set, and we develop a team that is able to scale a business beyond ourselves, and we no longer become the upper limit. And so obviously there's a who component to that, right? Like we have to build the team around us that is capable and that we can trust to scale this business to the next level. And most critically, that generally looks like, a leadership team, having middle management where each functional department of the business has a key decision maker and a strategic and critical thinker. You could call that a team lead or a head of or whatever, but like that's the functional head of the department. And one member of that leadership team, in my opinion, has to be operations, right? An ops manager, a head of operations, generally not a COO, not yet, but you need somebody who is horizontally like holding everything together and creating a cohesive unit out of your leadership team and out of your company as a whole.
That all sounds amazing, right? And in our mastermind, we're always chatting about, you don't need a COO at your level. You need an operations director first.
Yep.
Where can they find these types of people?
Yeah. I always say, hiring A players in general, it's not about fishing in the right pond. It's about using the right fishing rod. The exceptional talent exists everywhere. It exists from every country. It exists on every job forum. It's not about like finding some secret oasis where all the A players are hanging out on the internet, right? It is about having the right fishing rod, which in this case is a hiring funnel. Do you have a system that will consistently, you could drop it onto Indeed, you could drop it onto LinkedIn and onto your social media, and it will extract the right A player for the role that you're looking to place. And so, this is classic coming from an operations chick, but the answer is a system, not a place.
So what do you suggest when you post on LinkedIn or Indeed when you get 1,000 applications? How do you possibly go through it?
Yeah. So again, the answer is the system. So for our hiring system, for example, because we do this, Jason, right? We recruit and we place operators. Mm-hmm. And for our average hiring funnel, we'll get anywhere from 500 to 1,000 applicants pulled through across all the various sources that we're putting that job description out on. But the system will automatically self-select out anywhere from 95 to 98% of all of the candidates. They literally won't make it through to the point where me and my team would take our own time to actually review that application and consider whether we want to interview the candidate. So I always say a really good hiring funnel, like think of a marketing funnel, right? It is designed to attract your ideal client. And it is, if it's good, designed to repel anyone who would be a waste of your time and not be a fit for what you do. Hiring is exactly the same way. And so I think the challenge is that we mostly hire from a place of scarcity. And so we want to cast this really wide net and we don't want to filter anybody out preemptively. But the reality is that if you've built the right hiring system, you only want to talk to the top 3% of candidates who could be a potential fit for the role. And your ideal system should kick out everyone else so that you don't waste your time or theirs.
I'm curious, what mousetraps do you put in? Then I'll go over kind of our mousetraps because, I always tell our agency owners to create the system for this to weed through, because I was chatting with one member the other day and he's like, man, how many hours are you putting into finding this particular role? And he was like, probably like 20 hours a week for the past 3 weeks. Do you want a way to eliminate all of that? Maybe spend 2 hours?
Yeah.
I went through the mousetraps. So what are the mousetraps you guys put out?
Yeah. So we'll custom design a couple of these mousetraps depending on the role that we're hiring for. But I would say the biggest secret to our success is that we do a skill assessment. And we do that skill assessment before we send people through to interviews. And the skill assessment is hard, right? It can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And it's designed to stress test the candidate for whether or not they already have the experience and they know how to do the role. So we'll design questions that specifically ask them to think through or present how they would tackle a major challenge associated with that role. And for somebody who's already been there, done it, and knows exactly how to do it, it's time consuming, but it's not hard because they've already done it and they can just give you the answer. And it's so clear that they're competent and confident in what they're doing. For somebody who doesn't know how to do the job, they probably just won't complete the skill assessment. And then you're never going to talk to them anyway.
Give us an example of the question you would ask them.
Yeah. So one of the major deliverables, perhaps, that this operator needs to come in and do is rebuild your SOP library. So we would give a question along the lines of, here's the current status of this hypothetical SOP library. Film a Loom video walking us through the following question. How would you go about auditing the existing SOPs to figure out what's accurate and what's up to date? How would you go about updating that SOP library? How would you roll that SOP library out across the team in such a way that ensures it gets used, right? So I love the Loom video approach because we're also having them communicate and we're able to test their communication skills and see how they communicate around something that they're theoretically an expert around, but is kind of complex and technical. And so how do they translate that and communicate that in a way where it makes sense to somebody on their team who is not an operator? So we're pulling all of these different data points from one question, which is, do you know how to do the job? And can you explain it well?
What are you looking for on that? Because let's say an agency owner puts that carrot out, but most agency owners or CEOs, they don't understand the how, right? Like I always tell people, whenever you're asking, how do I do something? I'm like, no, you're asking the wrong question. You want to ask, who needs to do this? So what are you looking for in that scenario?
Yeah, 100%. And again, we have the unique competitive advantage of being operators have become really good at identifying operators. So taking that aside for a moment, I would say a couple of things. Number one, I want to see how much effort somebody puts in when I have given them very little guideline around how much effort they should put in. You will have some people who submit a 2-minute Loom video. We've had people submit a 45-slide presentation and a 10-minute Loom video explaining it and breaking it down slide by slide, right? So A players over-deliver as a habit, and you will automatically be able to see how much effort somebody puts into something just by seeing, what's the robustness of the answer that they submit. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. The second thing, again, is like that confidence and that competence. Are they speaking from a place of experience because they've done this before and they know how it needs to be done? Or are they making it up, guessing? It becomes very clear. Again, if you're designing the question in a way where you theoretically know how to do an SOP library, then it becomes very obvious who has done that before versus who is making it up on the spot.
One of the most stressful things about running an agency is proposal. It feels like controlled chaos, right? You rush to get them out the door with complete accuracy, just hoping you don't miss something crucial. One wrong move could lead to costly mistakes or possibly not landing the deal at all. That's why I'm excited about Smart Pricing Table. It's an award-winning proposal software built just for marketing agencies. Now, it's designed to handle your unique challenges and cut down the time you spend on proposal as much as 90%. With Smart Pricing Table, you're going to turn your crazy process into a smooth, predictable system that works for you, not against you. Oh, and by the way, the creator is a former agency owner and a past mastermind member, so you know Smart Pricing Table is built with the right strategies behind it. Say goodbye to the proposal stress and hello to confidence. Go to smartpricingtable.com/smartagency to see if this is the missing piece your agency is looking for. Plus, just for the listeners, schedule a demo and get half off for the first 2 months. Check out smartpricingtable.com/smartagency.
One of the mousetraps we do even before then is we say at the very bottom, do not apply here. You must email us with this subject title, and you must send us a 4-minute video, under a 4-minute video. So if they don't email us, they're gone.
Right.
If they don't do the subject line, they're gone.
Right.
If they go over the video or don't include the video, they're gone. You know, the problem is you get out of 1,000 applicants, you get maybe 5 people that actually listened and did everything. And then the agency owner always goes to me like, well, I'm going to go back through the 1,000.
Right.
Because we didn't get enough. I'm like, okay, so you're hiring an operations person that you want, like, what's their key skill?
Right.
And I'm like, attention to detail, follow instructions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they didn't do that.
Right. Exactly.
And then we're like, okay, yeah, you make sense.
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, build the hiring funnel that is going to attract the candidate who's a fit for the role. I love that mousetrap. And like, we do something similar. We have a code word that we embed in the job description, and then they have to tell us what the code word is in the written application. But we don't always put that mousetrap in. We put that mousetrap in when attention to detail is a critical competency for the role. But that's not necessarily true for every single role, right? So I don't believe there's a quote unquote right hiring funnel. I think we need to have the strategic design to build the hiring funnel for the role that we want to bring in.
What do you think the first 90 days looks like when you hire an operations person?
Yeah, great question. So any qualified operator is going to take the first 30 days to observe, to watch, to learn, to listen before they jump in and start fixing things. Because what operators understand is that what I'm seeing at the surface may not actually be the root cause issue at play. And if I jump in and I start tackling inefficiencies left and right where I see them, I might be missing the actual issue that is really happening here. And so that's frustrating from a founder's perspective, because they're like, why isn't my operator doing anything, right? Like, I want them to get to work. But the reality is like, they need to familiarize themselves and do a bit of an audit on the company to understand what's really happening. And then I recommend every operator and every visionary at the week 2 mark, so they've had 2 weeks now to take a look around, have something called a success meeting. And the success meeting covers 6 core pillars that set the foundation of the visionary and operator relationship. One of those pillars is alignment, meaning what are my highest priority deliverables, and are we aligned on what's most important for me to work on next in this role, right? So the operator is bringing 2 weeks worth of findings into that meeting and saying, here's what I'm seeing. Here's where you may not be aware that there are inefficiencies and gaps in your business. And here's what I think are the highest priorities. What do you think, right? And then the founder has the opportunity to say like, yes to that one. No, I don't think that's important. And I want to do this one. And here's why. And so you're able to find alignment with your operator that says, not only do I know that they know what they're talking about because they've done all this critical analysis, but I feel confident that they can execute these top 3 things in the next 90 days. And then I recommend as a founder, this is true for any role, have what does success look like at 30 days? Have that clearly defined, and then 90 days. So you should know and have that conversation with them. These are the milestones I expect you to hit within your first 3 months on the role, so that we can know you're staying on track and that you are in fact the right person for the job.
How much time does the CEO need to put into managing this ops person?
That's a great question. I like to upfront my onboarding process. I know CEOs who are still, quote unquote, training and onboarding their operators 6 months later. And that to me is such a waste of time. Because think about it this way, any second you spend training is an investment into this person. You are spending your time and money to show up and train that person. They're not returning on that investment until they are up and running and fully functional in the role. They're not doing their job and doing the thing that you hired them for and bringing in the money that you're asking them to bring in until they're fully functional in the role. And so I onboard and I stress test my candidates with a 14-day boot camp. Again, this is true for any role. So in the first 14 days, I want them to get the 80-20 of the training that they need so that they can start returning on the investment of that training and of their salary. So I give it 2 weeks before they're actually functional and starting to do the role. And then of course, they'll continue to grow and get better over, the coming weeks. But in terms of time invested, I'm making myself available every single day for a minimum of 30 minutes during that first 2-week period. So that again, as they're analyzing and auditing and learning, they've got a consistent touch point with me to ask any questions where they may be confused or they want to run something by me.
What do you think the number one thing an operator should do for the CEO?
The number one thing an operator should do for the CEO is optimize the CEO as the most valuable resource within the business. Meaning, how is the CEO spending their time? How are they spending their energy? How are they time blocking their calendars so that they have time for deep think and creative work? The CEO, us founders, are the most valuable resource. And we undervalue ourselves consistently when we show up in the day-to-day weeds, doing things in the business that are way below the value of our time and energy. And we are costing our business money when we spend our time there versus spending it on our highest value work. And so I teach our operators how to do a time audit on their CEO in the first 30 days. Let's audit this founder's time, see where it's going towards low value tasks and activities, and build a game plan to get this person out of the day-to-day weeds because it's not where they should be anymore.
The biggest thing I always look for when I hire an operator is how much time am I getting back? And a lot of times too, especially a lot of you listening, sometimes it's not all about hiring an operator right off the bat. It's about hiring a VA just to get rid of all your $10 tasks. I always tell everybody, I'm like, when's the last time you audited your calendar? Like if you literally took a screenshot of your calendar from the past 2 weeks and then look at it and then highlight it, green or red, red drained the shit out of me.
Yep.
Yeah, I won't be like, well, should you have been in that meeting?
Right.
What can you delegate? And really kind of start there. Because I always looked at a great operator is they're going to do the things that I don't want to manage anybody. But I think most CEOs and leaders are horrible at managing because we expect people to do their job. And we will give you the vision and you go operate. My biggest thing is I don't want to demotivate anybody. If I have to motivate someone, I'm like, fuck, I can find someone better, faster, and cheaper. You're gone. Like I always know within a month or even under a month if someone's going to work out or not. I'm just like, are you saving me time? Are you great for the business? Are you driving new ideas and executing and all of that? Like those are the things that I always look for. But it took me so long because I was like, like if I was at 5 people, I need a COO. No, you need a project manager probably, and then an ops person, and then, go from there.
100%. And I think, that's something we were able to do for our clients so often is save them, 30 to 50K in the form of a salary that they no longer have to pay for. Because when we think operations, the only job title we know is COO. And so we assume that we're going to have to shell out, 6 figures minimum a year to go bring in this really advanced, experienced person. And that's just simply not the case, right? Your company needs the level of operator to match the level of operational complexity within the business. And so generally, until you're at a minimum of 300K months, but closer to 500 to $1 million months, should you be looking at a COO?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun, having you on the show. And if you guys want to be around other amazing agency CEOs that can see the things you might not be able to see or give you ideas that you can go execute so you become the better version of yourself, so you're not holding back your agency and you get new ideas, make sure you go to agencymastery.io. Check us out. And until next time, have a swank day.